there was a Bellular video the other day on YouTube where he was talking about a games industry report, and a majority of gamers today that are coming up are not gamers in general, but they're gamers of a specific game. So
Hmm.
I identify as a FIFA gamer. I only
Yes.
play FIFA. I identify as a COD gamer, to the point that the top 10 most played games are all franchises that have been around for ages.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on just that phenomena? Because I think gaming, like even like the early days of Blizzard and Valve and all these really cool game companies that maybe were like built on mods or maybe had original ideas or taking from another, especially in the Blizzard's case, but they all had like really cool, interesting, novel things to try because they thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a formula, there wasn't the MOBA, there wasn't the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
MMORPG, it was just a game to be fun.
Yeah.
How has that changed for you?
Um, I'd push back a little bit on that. I think there's always been a case, right? Like, I think in the 90s you had the Doom clones. There's always been this thing of like, there's been a mega hit, and then you see what follows afterwards, almost trying to chase it. I think the difference now is that you would play and finish Doom. You might get stuck to the multiplayer, but not in the same way you would Call of Duty by the time the next Call of Duty would come out. So you would have time to play Hexen afterwards. You were looking to chase that and play another game like it. I think the big difference in the modern era is the live gameness of it all, right? Like, Call of Duties are constantly updating throughout the year, then there's a brand new one. Fortnite is never the same game every 2 months. So I think that's the big challenge. I think that the best thing what we've been trying to do at Landmark to a point is like find audiences that are underserved, that aren't in a game. And I think that from a business case standpoint especially is what you need to do. Is like, I don't think it's worth keep chasing player bases of games that are already very established. I think it's proving time and time again that once they're embedded, they are very difficult to pry away.
Well, what
So
type of audience is that? Like, if you think that the FIFA, the Call of Duties, the League of Legends, you can all assume 21 to 35, maybe even older now, like
yeah,
definitely a bit older, but you can kind of make a generic sweeping assumption that that's kind of the pool of players. But gaming nowadays is way more open, right? Like
absolutely.
you got children playing, you got old people playing, you got parents playing, you got
Yeah,
everyone now has a game in their pocket
everyone's a
somehow
gamer.
to their phone. So
Absolutely.
how does that feed to like Landmark and your approach?
So we did a lot of research into making like trailers for games that we maybe never will release, and we put them on things like Facebook, and we saw if people were even clicking on that or if they're interested in that, and seeing also who was clicking on that and who that audience was starting to be. Then once we knew that, we could start to actually grow games and build games exactly for that audience, and that is sort of working out for us at this time. So I think that's what I mean by that. But you're seeing it in the wider industry as well, right? Like the cozy game thing didn't come out of nowhere. Like, that is the industry seeing that, okay, we've got this group of players that aren't interested in anything sort of violent, aren't interested in anything kind of intense. They are the kind of audience that watch comedies over and over again in terms of films. They want to feel comfortable in their spare time. Let's build games for them. They're being underserved, and we've seen that be a massive explosion, right? So
That's fascinating. It's I almost want to flip what you said, because a lot of times like people
Mhm.
play games that they know because they're comfortable playing that game. Like if I'm to come home from work, and a lot of times like people will just play League of Legends, and the outsider will say, "Why are you playing League of Legends? You're just going to flame at your computer." Fair
Mhm.
enough, but because they're comfortable with that game, it's very hard for them to ever go to another one because they've spent so much time learning it. Like even a FIFA player
Yeah.
or a Call of Duty player, like almost on what you said there's almost like a paradox where like everyone's kind of comfortable, and to get someone to go away from their game of choice is incredibly difficult. Just like if someone watches the NBA or football or stuff like that, it's very hard to get them to be like,
Yeah.
"No, watch another sport, like that's my sport." So how do you get people to how do you find genres that are new and exciting for people that will get them to try something different?
That's $1 million question, I think.
That
But
is $1 million question,
yeah.
yeah.
I think if you're within the same genre, there are ways you're seeing the industry try and do this, right? Like, Marvel Rivals was like, let's grab the gameplay of Overwatch. Let's listen to that. I bet they listened to that community. They looked at the frustrations people were having there and made sure they built a game around that. And also had a massive IP to throw on top of it, right?
Yeah. Like
Um,
Blizzard would call it a clone, though. No, like wouldn't they say like you just copied us?
absolutely, absolutely. But again, I think it's, you know,
Who's copying who?
who's copying who? And then at that point, do you say that Blizzard copied Team Fortress 2? Like, games are a
Yes.
iterative
Yeah.
medium, right? Like, so I think, I would hesitant to even sort of go down that line of thinking with someone that would have that argument. But
It's tricky because then it makes you think like, are there truly, I know there are, but I'm asking almost the rhetorical question, the dumb question, but are there truly original games, or is every game just built on the foundation of what someone paved the way earlier off of someone else's foundation? So it's always
belief.
like, right, is that?
I believe,
please.
I believe that it is truly come from something, like everything. And I don't think that's just games. I think you could say that about all media and all art. Like, no one, unless you're talking about like Space War, but even that is like iterative of the films and movies he's watched. Is like, I can make that on a video game version of this, right? The first ever video game. But like, everyone has played video games. They're going to be inspired by something. They're going to bring ideas from one game or the other and put it into that melting pot and create the next thing.
Do you think that's why Hideo Kojima is just kind of nuts? Is that like why? Like not? I mean, nuts in the like. I'm playing Death Stranded too, so that's why I kind of brought him up. And I'm just like, this game is crazy. Like it's unlike any other game. Like you could call it a walking simulator, but it has all this like realism and all these crazy like game loops, or you're giving thumbs up to players that don't exist. I'm like, okay, is that kind of what he's doing? Like he's kind of noticed that everyone's just following someone else's trail, and he wants to do his own thing.
I think that is part of it, but again, I would argue that there's games that you could point out that he's definitely been inspired by. Again, I wouldn't know, but there are, I think, definitely similar ideas in things like Snow Runners and Mud Runners, especially with Death Stranding 2 compared to the first one, very much more vehicle based.
Yeah.
Some of the ideas he's talking about thematically and narratively, you could definitely pull from independent cinema and Hollywood as well. Again, them ideas, I think if you had a conversation with him, he wouldn't argue back. Them ideas are coming from somewhere. I think the secret sauce Hideo Kojima has is that he has the budget to throw more money at these ideas and put them together in an interesting way. I'm a big Hideo Kojima fan as well. But like, I think he... and make it interesting in that way. But I think, even there, he's had his ideas that have come from somewhere and are still in conversation with other games and definitely other cinema.
But you've heard the stories of him like with his Kojima Studios when he was starting to do Death Stranded, the first one, and like he was like pitching to the team. Basically, he would be very secretive about like how the game would be. He'd release it gradually. And I can't remember what feature it was. It might have been the thumbs up to invisible people, to people who are kind of there, but they're not, and you can't see them, but you can see like if they used a ladder or they went this direction. And I remember the team was like unanimously, most of the company was like, we don't like this. We think this is a bad idea. Hideo, what are you doing? And I just love the fact that just one guy is like, no, we're going to do something different. I have a different concept. It's not going to be related to anything else anyone else's does. This is just what I think is good. And that's a crazy thing to do in games. Like,
absolutely,
right? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, he is. He's definitely earned that position. There is very few studios where I think there is one person in control in the same way that he is. But again, I have no idea. I think that you can also look at the credits of them games. He has some of the most talented game designers, artists, sound designers and stuff around him as well, that I'm sure he is leaning on as heavy as possible.
As a huge... Oh, sorry, go please.
I think his skill as a creative director is the fact that he can bring these people together and nay it.
I was going to say then on that point, like what, as a Hideo Kojima fan, like what do you think is his, you just mentioned he brings people together, but like what is his superpower?
Good taste, I think. And I think I think some of it as well is you can tell it is his taste. It isn't always super commercial. It is the thing that he thinks is cool. Even sometimes it's not, but it gives it that quirk. And the same for the music. No one's putting quite that same type of music in their games as well, or them aesthetics. I think it is just having a unique and interesting taste that is cohesive and good. He's a good creative director.
He's a crazy guy. He's super interesting. He's fascinating. Just the
Hmm.
way he approaches his games, and he does things that me working in the industry, it's like no way would any investor or ownership or anyone ever buy anything that he's doing. But because it's him and because he is dead strong on his idea and his vision, and people almost I bought it not because I knew it was going to be a great game, but because I figured it's Hideo Kojima, it's going to be something interesting, it's going to be something different. That is
Absolutely.
enough to get people to pay for something, which is crazy because
Yeah.
usually you'd assume you buy a game because you know it's going to be fun,
Hmm.
not because it's going to be an experience.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
absolutely. I think that is the interesting thing about his stuff is that it is interesting. It's not going to be quite like any other AAA game
yeah.
out there.